What if everything you've been taught about meditation and mental peace is only half the story? What if the calm you experience during meditation disappears the moment you step back into the real world? Today, we're going to explore something that most meditation teachers won't tell you: the difference between temporary mental relief and permanent transformation. And more importantly, we're going to show you that this transformation isn't reserved for monks in monasteries. It's available to you right where you are right now. Stay with us because this could fundamentally change how you approach your spiritual practice. Let's start with an uncomfortable truth. Most people who meditate experience what we might call a temporary calming of the mind. When you sit in meditation, your mental chatter slows down. The constant stream of worries, plans, and anxieties quiets considerably. You feel peaceful, serene, perhaps for the first time in weeks. But then you leave your meditation room. You walk back into your day, back into your responsibilities, back into your relationships. And gradually, sometimes immediately, that peace evaporates. This isn't a failure on your part. It's actually the natural consequence of how most meditation practices work. Traditional meditation, what Buddhists call samatha meditation, works like taking a mental painkiller. It temporarily relieves the symptom, the scattered mind, but it doesn't address the root cause. It's like medicating a fever without treating the infection underneath. The problem isn't that you're doing it wrong. The problem is that temporary suppression is fundamentally different from permanent understanding. And understanding is what creates lasting transformation. Here's something most people never consider. Our understanding of meditation is heavily shaped by cultural inheritance rather than direct understanding. For centuries, meditation was passed down as cultural practice. Something you do because your parents did it, because your teacher told you to, because your religion prescribes it. Whether in Buddhism, Hinduism, or Jainism, these traditions all developed sophisticated meditation practices. But here's the critical insight. These practices were designed for specific cultural contexts and specific goals. When meditation practices traveled across cultures and into the modern world, something important got lost. We inherited the technique without inheriting the deeper philosophical framework that makes the technique meaningful. A monk in a monastery has a completely different relationship with meditation than you do living in a city, managing a job, raising a family. Yet we often try to practice the same way they do, expecting the same results. The ancient masters understood something we've largely forgotten. They knew that true understanding of the mind isn't something that happens only in meditation cushions. They knew that real transformation happens through what we might call lived understanding, the constant, moment-to-moment observation of how your mind actually works in real situations. This is the wisdom that transcends cultural boundaries. This is what actually works. One of the most liberating insights in Buddhist philosophy is the concept of anatta, often translated as non-self. But what does this really mean when we're talking about your mind? Simply this: your mind is not a possession you own. You cannot control it the way you control your hand or your foot. You can influence it, you can train it, but you cannot fundamentally control it the way most people believe they can. Think about this practically. Someone suggests you imagine a rose flower. You try. But then, unbidden, your mind brings up images of thorns. You can't simply command your mind to focus only on the beauty and exclude the thorns. Your mind has its own nature. It operates according to principles far deeper than your conscious will. Understanding this isn't depressing, it's liberating. Here's why this matters for transformation. Most people approach meditation with the idea that they need to master their mind, to force it into submission, to make it behave. But this approach works against the actual nature of mind. The moment you truly understand that your mind operates according to its own nature, something shifts. You stop fighting. You stop trying to control. And paradoxically, this is when real change becomes possible, not through force, but through acceptance and understanding. The Buddha discovered something that modern psychology is only now confirming. When you stop fighting against your mind's nature and start understanding it, the mind naturally begins to settle. It's not that you're controlling the chaos. It's that you're no longer creating chaos through resistance. Let's talk about what real transformation actually looks like. Throughout history, across different spiritual traditions, those who achieved what we might call enlightenment or complete understanding of the mind all describe something similar. They describe a fundamental shift in how they relate to their thoughts and emotions. They don't describe becoming emotionless or robotic. They describe becoming free. Think about your worst emotional reactions. When someone criticizes you unfairly, your mind erupts. You feel angry, defensive, hurt. When you face disappointment, your mind spirals. You feel despair. These reactions don't happen because you want them to happen. They happen because you're caught in patterns of thinking that were installed long before you were conscious. Cultural conditioning, family patterns, personal history, all of this shapes how your mind responds automatically. But here's what changes through real understanding. You begin to see these patterns arising. You notice the anger before it has fully taken you over. You observe the disappointment without being swept away by it. You don't try to suppress these feelings. Instead, you understand them. You see how they arise, how they operate, what they're based on, and in that understanding, they lose their power to control you completely. This is why the Buddha taught what's called vipassana, which simply means insight or clear seeing. It's not about achieving some special state of consciousness. It's about seeing clearly with radical honesty how your own mind works. This clarity can arise anywhere. It can arise while you're meditating, but it can also arise while you're washing dishes, arguing with a family member, facing a work deadline, or sitting in traffic. The location doesn't matter. What matters is the quality of awareness you bring to each moment. So if you're living a regular life with responsibilities and relationships and challenges, how do you cultivate this understanding? The answer is simpler than you might think. It starts with commitment to observation rather than perfection. Take just 1 hour each day and commit to being conscious. Notice when you react automatically. Notice when fear arises. Notice when you're caught in old patterns. Don't try to change anything. Just watch. As you develop this habit of clear observation, something remarkable happens. Your understanding of your own mind deepens. The patterns that controlled you unconsciously begin to lose their grip. You develop what we might call wisdom, not from books or teachers, but from your own direct experience of how your mind actually works. And from that wisdom comes a freedom that no external circumstance can take away. This is the transformation that's possible for you. This is the revolution of the mind.